Peter Hayden was this rather remarkable individual from New York. He started out when he was about 19 years old and signed a contract with the Auburn Penitentiary for inmate labor. And what he did is he created a saddlery within the walls of the prison using the inmates to create the hardware for the saddles. And he also made hand tools. He did that for about 9 years or so, and for some reason he decided to come to Columbus. He struck a deal with the Ohio Penitentiary to use inmate labor to create another saddlery and another company making hand tools. At some point, he decided he needed coal, and he was drawn to this area.
We had the iron ore, we had coal, there was salt down here, sandstone, all this that they needed elsewhere.
Hayden was fortunate in that he arrived just as the canal system was unfolding across Ohio. The feeder canal to Columbus was completed in 1831 and started extending this way, reaching down to, through Nelsonville to Athens.
Yeah. I'm amazed at how square they are. This canal ran from about 1836, there was about 30 years. It's about all they got out of the canals. Then it was replaced by the trains.
Haydenville is one of the little cities of black diamonds, and they were called that because they were developed around coal mining. Coal was discovered in the Hocking Valley as early as 1755.
The interesting thing about when he came here and found the coal was he also found really rich deposits of clay.
It was in 1883 that Peter Hayden founded the Haydenville Mining and Manufacturing Company to take advantage of the clay that was here. And they used the clay for bricks, for silo tile, for conduit, anything that you could make out of clay they made here. They even made umbrella stands.
Work in a tile factory would be very hard, very hot labor. It would be sweaty. You would be on a team with a lot of people doing very, very manual work.
The plant had up to 360 people at one time working for them. Some worked in coal mines, some worked in the clay mines, some worked on the railroad and in the factory, in the kilns. And there'd be somebody standing there shoveling coal in that thing all day.
The thing about having this manufacturing operation here is that you needed housing for your people. And he had this idea of creating a model community. And he ended up building all of these houses out of products that came out of his plant. They're built out of brick, tile, sewer pipes.
Being in a company town means everything is owned by the company. The community, the homes, all your needs are met by the company.
So in a company town, since the company owns the land and owns the houses, for the most part they're going to be very similar. Housing would be assigned most likely by the company, so different families of different sizes might be able to sort of argue their way into something more unique, something a little bit bigger if they needed it. Also, supervisors might be entitled to a larger house, more space, more of a yard.
Yeah, I particularly like these because they have more decorative features than the straight row houses do. You see they've got arched windows and arched doors, whereas the row houses don't. But the sewer pipe, which is sewer Gothic, as it was called, makes it really stand out. I assume that these were for some of the higher people in the company. So there's just a group of them along here.
There used to be 5 of them.
Behind me is a really unique church. It's the Haydenville Church, built out of the Haydenville tile. So that's going to be all local clay that you see there, making the really beautiful designs.
I found this fascinating, that the town basically was salesman samples, that they would bring customers to Haydenville to see how their tile and brick and everything they manufacture, all their ceramics could be used. This house behind us, it's built of silo tile.
Yes.
So if you want to see what a silo tile building would look like, this is an example of it.
There were 17 or so built in about 1917. We had a couple over by the Hocking River, and we had this one, and then the rest were clear over at the mines.
So one of the problems with a company town is when the company leaves, when the company folds, when there's massive layoffs, there's no longer a town to be supported. There's no more company store. The people who lived there either don't have their homes anymore because they're not working for the company anymore, or if the land has been sold off to individuals, there's no real reason to stick around. And unfortunately, that's part of what happened in this area. This was partially due to the rise of mechanization.
Haydenville was considered the last of the company towns. The Natco company sold off the houses in 1964. That time there were 112 houses, 8 of which were doubles. From an industrial standpoint, Peter Hayden definitely was one of the founders of Columbus. He had his fingers in everything, and he had businesses in Chicago, Detroit, San Francisco, New Jersey. He was in banking. He was involved with streetcars. He made cannonballs during the Civil War. His bank, the Hayden Clinton Bank, is the oldest building on Capitol Square in downtown Columbus, and yet, we don't really recognize his name anymore.
Now, he was also well loved here. He was very good to his people, and for a good, hard day's work, he gave them a good living.
The inscription on this beautiful window, which was dedicated to Peter Hayden, reads, "So he fed them according to the integrity of his heart and guided them by the skillfulness of his hands." I think that really is kind of a testament to the legacy of Peter Hayden in this community.
So I think the legacy of Peter Hayden is alive and well in the people who are still in these towns. As we were researching the book, we met a lot of people who are really devoted to this area. Maybe their grandfathers or great-grandfathers worked here, their families from here, they love it here.
Plaque.
National Register plaque.
Towns like this really need something new to come in. Tourism, I think, could be wonderful in this area. It's a gorgeous area. So what Haydenville really needs is another woman or man like Peter Hayden, someone who sees the potential value, sees what could happen here, and then really makes it happen.